Hi, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where systems matter and both personal and professional learning and development is beneficial for everyone and essential for some. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Let's get started.
So,
Yeah.
starting with the Exemplary Performance, can you just briefly discuss what those are and, the Nifty 9 and what those 9 are?
Yeah, so we created that for after school, what they call paraprofessionals. And but it'll work for any, what we call youth champion, for the most part, right? Yeah. I mean, like the homework or the academic piece for a parent, maybe they're not teaching their kids that, but it'll really work for most youth champions, as we talked about. So whether that's teachers or after school professionals, youth pastors, coaches, babysitters, it kind of runs the gamut.
Yeah, okay.
But the first one that we always like to talk about is safety, right? And so, when we talk about that, what does that look like? So it might be line of sight or different things of that nature, making sure that there's no dogs around or somebody that's, harm's way, or, that gate just came undone. There's a little thing sticking out, level or whatever. And then the second one that we talk about, and they go interchangeable. Really, I try to put the second one first most of the time, but it can go either direction, which is professionalism. How do you be a professional? How do you dress correctly? How do you talk to people? Hey, how's it going? Be nice and friendly and different things of that nature. But just being a good professional as you're walking, up on these schools and school districts and different things of that nature. Yeah. And then when you get with the kids, we call it the trilogy, which is inside the Nifty 9. And so we talk about how are you going to manage the environment. And so what that would look like, let's say, it's easier to talk about it when you're outside, but it could be inside as well, to make sure, getting ready to play sports or something, there's no holes or again, dogs or things that can hurt the kids. It's maybe setting up the bases, just getting things ready, managing the environment. The next part of that is what we call behavior guidance. And so, kids will get unfocused or whatever, you're teaching a lesson or just they're off task or whatever. And so one of the things that we do is what we call the proximity, behavior guidance, one of the skills. And, I move real close to somebody and they're like, they get away. Yeah. And we do the same thing with kids, and they, you get this close to them an inch or two away and they're like, they're going to stop goofing off and messing off and different things. You don't have to say a word. Yeah. Right. Or just a look. That could be a behavior guidance situation. So there's a bunch of skills and skill sets within these things that we talk about. And then the next one is a positive discipline. Okay. And so it's kind of funny because it's like, what's the difference between motivation and manipulation? If we have a circle, we draw a line down the middle, and you're facing, let's say, north, and that's motivation. When you turn right around, it can be manipulation. It's really a mindset piece. But so I can put somebody on timeout and it's negative discipline, or I can put somebody on timeout and it's positive discipline. So how do you differentiate the two? Well, when you put somebody on timeout with positive discipline, what you do is you say, you've already set it up. Hey, this is time for you to think on what you might do differently for the future to make sure you're not getting put on timeout, so to speak. Got it. And so those are your top 5, and within there you've got 4 of them we call the Fab 4, and then the 5th is the Fantastic 5, and like I said, we already have the trilogy and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then the other 4 in various orders depending on how you want to do it, but one of them is called what we call the direct and tell versus questioning techniques. Okay. So the direct and tell is, you hear the moms that aren't, not only are they telling their kid in Walmart what to do, they're directing it. Well, what's the difference? Everybody says, well, directing says, hey, go pick up that thing. No, not with your left hand, with your right hand. No, not up there. No, don't bend over at the waist. Bend, it's just a constant barrage of these directives. Yeah. And then the telling, which is a little bit better, but not a lot, is, hey, go pick up your Legos. Hey, pick up your clothes. Hey, pick up the crayons. But if you missed, the coloring book, making your bed, and whatever else, then, right, because it's where the ownership's at. The ownership's on the director or the teller. No. So what we do is we just say questioning technique, state the objective. Hey, we're trying to get your room cleaned up. You know, what are some things that you think, and you're talking to the kid or whoever. And again, business people can do it. It's not, this isn't just, these aren't tricks of the trade or best practices.
Yeah.
The toolbox of, you know, the tricks aren't just for after school professionals or youth champions or whatever. It's parents, like I said, so on and so forth. But it can also be business people, entrepreneurs, you know, hobby collectors, side hustlers. You could go on and on about it. And so, anyway, with that, you have how do you set it up? So you state the objective, and room needs to be clean, and what do you know, they say this, that, and whatever. I need to make my bed. I need to, but they forget these 3 things. So then you go right back into directing and tell, well, you need to do this, that, you know, or do whatever. Or you could just say, what I call, oh, what about this? And they go, oh, yeah. In the end, that was you kind of interjecting. But the bottom line is, as a whole, you say, okay, are you committed to doing that? And, you know, you have those things. They go into it. So at first, that takes a little bit of time. But think about it. And this is something we did not talk about in the last video, so I'm glad it came to mind. If you think about that up front, maybe there's a little extra time.
Yeah.
But then, now that they know how to get themselves ready for school, or they know how to get themselves ready to transition from the opening to the rotation, they know how to transition from the club enrichment to the right. Then it becomes quick, because you can be like, hey, you guys already know, you've been doing it for 4 weeks.
Right.
Any questions? Boom, boom. Now we're into it, because that's speed, right?
Yeah.
And that's what systems do. That's what people that can plug into the Nifty 9, the Trilogy, whatever, you know, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the basis. And then at the end, you say something to the effect of, so what's a reasonable time frame to get that done? They say 30 seconds minimum. I said, okay, go to it. And then you can do a countdown, which makes sure that they do it in a timely manner.
Got it.
And so I think that was number half a dozen, right?
Yes.
I don't like the word.
Yeah.
As you know, I skip from 5 to 7. And so then number 7 could be transitions.
Okay.
And so, you know, that's simply closing down one thing and opening up another. So again, you know, let's just say you're at home, you're watching TV with your kid. Hey, we're getting ready to close down this activity because we're getting ready to go to the dinner table. Yeah. What are some things that, you know, going back to the questioning techniques, what are some things that we need to do to get that situated? Well, I need to turn down the TV. I need to put the blankie back, whatever they're going to say.
Yeah.
And then sometimes within that setting, you would say, and what are the things you're going to need to do to get, you know, over to the dinner table? Well, I need to, you know, walk, not run, because that would be a safety thing. I need to, you know, get my paper plate, or I need to get my food as I'm going, whatever it is. And the same kind of thing. You go, okay, great. So you're committed to doing that? Yeah, time frames, whatever. So it's just closing down of one thing and making sure that you open up another. And there's various ways to do that. You could do it all at once. You can get this activity, you know, stopped, get them to a transition spot, and then transition to the other one. Okay, hey, now we're in the hallway. What, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. What would you do? Blah, blah. And then the next one is holistic instruction. It's how you teach. Okay. And so what we try to say is, you know, how do you teach kids on the front end and make it impactful, make it stick, right? Yeah. And so we have holistic instruction. It's basically broken down in an opening, like a middle of the road type stuff, and then a closing. Yeah. And up here in the opening, you're going to ask them about prior knowledge. Okay. So when it talk about, you know, tying your shoe. So what do you guys know about tying your shoe? You're going to get all kinds of, well, bunny ears and loop to hoop and boot to whoop, whatever they're going to tell you. You can say, okay, great. So you state the objective of this is what we're going to do. Then you get their prior knowledge. Then you move into what I call the meat of it, or the content. Yeah. And so you're going to teach. Mm-hmm. You're going to teach. You're going to demonstrate. You're going to do all of that, right? In the teaching part of it, I call it part A. Yeah. And then in part B, you're going to, you know, after you've taught and demonstrated and explained all that, then you're going to let them go practice. Yeah. Okay, practice tying your shoe, whatever. And then you can do what I call the attention getter. So you get all their attention. Hey, and it's called a teachable moment. Hey, we talked about in the opening in your prior knowledge, this, and this. Well, I just saw little Sally, and she didn't hoop to loop and boop to boop, and she didn't, you know, make a circle and hop de hop. But she got the same thing that everybody else did. Is that a bad thing? Right. So you talk about that. There's different ways to get to the end result, so to speak. And then you do your closing, and in that way we do it like one or two ways, usually both. We'll do a review, which is what I think as the teacher, the educator, the whatever, the trainer, what I think is important. Mm-hmm. So I say it's the hoop to hoop, the loop to loop, and the whoop to whoop. Those are the three things. Yeah. Right? And you're just reviewing, and then the reflection is what do they think. And so that's going to be, usually in the form of a confirmation, a tweak, or an aha. Yeah. So, hey, teacher, my confirmation was the hoop to hoop makes sense. Yeah. Right? Because it works every time. Nothing. Somebody else goes, aha moment. I never knew about the hoop to hoop, and now I'm glad I do because I've been wearing Velcro because I didn't know how to tie my own shoe. Yeah. Right? And then another one would say, my tweak. Oh, I didn't know you could hoop to hoop this way. Yeah. I only hoop to hoop this way. Right? Almost like, do you wipe from back to front, or, just different variations of it. So that right there is a really good way to be able to do holistic instruction. And then the last part that we always make sure that we tie it into at the end is we say, in our minds as teachers, we're saying, how do we make this learning opportunity or this activity into a learning opportunity? Mm-hmm. And the way that we do that is making it for real life. We say that, whether it's after school programming or K-12 education or just life period right now. Yeah. Right? This is the practicing ground for the real world. Mm-hmm. Based off of that, how do we make it as close to the real world as possible? Yeah. And so we would say, okay, tying your shoe, maybe your little brother was running down the street, his shoes weren't tied, and you could have helped him to do it, and he falls and knocks his tooth out. Yeah. Well, we make sure that, hey, who else, whose shoes can you help to tie? Do you have any younger brothers? Why is it important? Why, all of that. Yeah. And just try to make this activity a good learning opportunity. Got it. Right? Yep. And then the last one is what we call an actual debrief. Mm-hmm. And that is, what was your key learning today or during this situation? Okay. And then you would say, how might you use that in your personal life? Mm-hmm. Anything that's outside of career material or, anything for the kids outside of school. Right. How much you use that learning in your personal life, how much you use in your professional life. They're like, what's professional? Well, your school, usually from 8 to 3, or you could actually say from 8 to, half a dozen o'clock if they're in after school. Yeah. And then you say, will you commit to do something with that learning? Usually within the next 24, 48, 72 hours, or they'll lose it. Right. But you give them a time frame and a deadline to that, or they give you one better. And then you say, are you committed to that?
Got it.
If you need to contact Brett or Coach, please do so on his social media accounts, email, and or text. You can find that information in the description below. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed.
He used to sit with his head down, and I don't care, and you know how Bakersfield, it's 110. Yeah. It didn't matter. He'd have his hoodie over his head, and he just would sit there.